Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of P.I.P, People in Property, with myself, Adil from Key Property Consultants. Today we've got the lovely Adriana with us, who's from the northeast of England, who is a property entrepreneur and investor. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming down. I know your journey was a little bit delayed because of the trains, but again, something that we can't help, unfortunately.
No, all chaotic. I'll just fly next time.
That's it, get a helicopter down.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we haven't got a helipad here, but maybe in the future.
Unfortunately not, yeah.
We'll keep going. Right, so before we sort of delve deep into like your property portfolio and what you do in property, can we sort of take it back to your education, if you went to university and things like that, and what you was doing before property, if anything?
Yeah, of course. So I did go to university. I graduated in 2021.
Nice.
So
what did you study?
Law.
Law, okay.
So I did my law degree. Kind of thought corporate world was going to be the route.
Yeah.
New sort of entrepreneurship was kind of probably what I wanted to look at. But yeah, looking at the corporate world, thought, oh yeah, being a lawyer, that would be good.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to go down the whole barrister route. Did that, did well in my degree, and then as lockdown hit, I sort of realised I wasn't particularly passionate about it.
Right.
And I think with something like that, you have to want to do it and go all the way.
For sure.
Because I'm not going to do something and do a bad job of it.
Yeah.
But if my heart's not in it, it's not in it.
And you won't be able to do the job properly and to your best of ability, isn't it really?
Exactly. Yeah.
I think the hours for lawyers and stuff is quite long as well, isn't it? And
I
quite
top
in depth.
that.
Yeah.
I top that all day long with what I do.
But you're passionate about what you do now, isn't it?
Yes,
So
exactly.
and you enjoy it.
Yeah.
So you graduated from doing your law degree. Lockdown hit, and then how was your into property? Did you have people around you that was already doing it, or did you just sort of go online and sort of do some self-teaching?
Yeah, so it was a lot of self-teaching, to be honest. So once I graduated, I started a small business, which I spoke about a couple of times. It was sort of customising shoes. That made me save quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
I was then working, I got offered a job in marketing as like a mentorship kind of programme.
Right.
And I was full-time there for maybe a month or two. So that's probably my real kind of corporate life experience. So I was there doing that, doing the sort of shoe business on the side, so saving up quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
I then moved back up to Newcastle, which is where I studied for university, and just kind of kept going on with that, part-time, things like that. And I started watching a lot of YouTube videos. So I think the first kind of person that I watched was like Saj Hussain, which was really cool because last week I was on stage speaking with him. So that was a nice little
From where you started to where you've come to in a short space of time is always fabulous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was really cool to actually get to meet him in person and speak alongside him. And yeah, and then obviously Samuel Leeds, YouTube and things like that. And just starting to understand the deal sourcing I tried to get an idea about, and I was hearing a lot about the lease options. It's like, oh my God, you can buy a house for £1. Like, wow. And it just hooked me. So kind of that was my into kind of understanding the property market. Well, a very base level understanding of it. And then from there, I signed up to the mentorship program, years mentorship in property, kind of put everything I'd saved into that. And that was basically my into the property industry. I sort of tasted it.
Investment into yourself to increase your knowledge essentially. But you're not adverse to learning obviously because you did a law degree, and you seem to have sort of grown a passion for the property side of things from watching what other people are doing and understanding of how money can be made without not necessarily owning property, from rent to rent element of things. So that's quite fabulous. And obviously the audience is now finding out you've only started during lockdown, which was like 2020 roughly. So within a short space of time, I'd say 3 years, I mean we're only into 2024 now, so within 3 years, which is a short space of time, I even obviously met you on Instagram really, that's how I sort of followed your journey, and you've grown very quickly, and what you're doing, you showcase everything. So it's not one of those sort of like catfishes, if you like, where I'm a property guru, I know everything about property. You can actually see what you're doing because you've got some developments on the go and stuff now as well. But before we get into the development side, did you do, obviously you did rent to rent first?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did you find the journey in rent to rent?
I had a lot of bad luck with it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So kind of deal sourcing and rent to rent were the strategies I was looking at. I started out deal sourcing, I started looking for BRRs, kind of always where my passion's been. But I think being young, not knowing everything, I wasn't afraid to go on viewings, don't get me wrong. I was viewing everything all the time. But I kind of, I guess, lacked that belief to kind of follow everything through and then get the client wrapped up initially. So I took a step back and then decided, okay, I'll get a rent to rent. That seems like, you know, a good way to do it, a good way to get cash flow. Went down that route, took it on. My first one, fine, joint venture, that kind of worked. I have stepped back from that now just because it's not in line with my strategy. And then I went on to securing one which I put quite a lot of renovation project into. I spent about £10,000 in that one.
And that was a rent to rent as well?
That was a rent to rent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a lot of money spent on a rent to rent, yeah?
I was really hungry, and I was just like, I just need to get it. The location's perfect, everything's perfect, it's going to be amazing. Literally lived in it whilst I did a lot of the work myself. Yeah. So that was
like decorating it,
decorating, painting, flooring, furnishing, yeah, everything. I mean,
multi-talented, yeah, not just finding the deal, getting your hands dirty.
I was like getting my hands dirty. I remember because it was unfurnished, it was gross, but it was like central Manchester. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. Right. So I brought a mattress up from home, and I just slept in there for 2 weeks on the floor, and I was like, I'm just going to do it, make it work. Yeah. So yeah, that was my first kind of in to being like. Did it work out, the deal? No. Oh, right, okay. No, but it taught me a lesson with 10 grand as opposed to 100 grand. Yeah, for sure. Check everything on the front end. So I was kind of, at the point where I got that deal, I was kind of up against a brick wall of, okay, I've been doing this about 6 months, I'm not really making much money. So that was my in to say, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to put everything into it, it's going to work location-wise. Yeah. And it was doing really well. And then I got that phone call off my cleaner like, oh, they're not letting me into the building. What do you mean? She said, and then turns out the head lease, I didn't check it. I asked the letting agent. They said, oh, it's fine. As in to do Airbnb? To do Airbnb. Right, okay. Yeah, so I didn't check stupidly, properly. Yeah. I just kind of went on the word because I really wanted it. Yeah. So they kicked me out. The letting agent, really, really bad. They actually moved new tenants in when I'd already paid 3 months rent up front, moved new tenants into the property with my furniture, with my 10 grand of renovation, my deposit, my upfront rent, all of that. And I was like, what? What's going on here? That's no good. Yeah, and so it was... Did they give you your money back at least? They've kept your upfront rent. They've kept the money, yeah. So I went to go to small claims court, still working through that. But too right, you know. Did, within your contract though, did it stipulate that you could do rent to rent? Yeah, it did. My contract was protected me to the high heavens, which is what, again, still worries me now. It's that the company that you're working with, your contract can say one thing. It was literally crystal clear. If it basically had the clause in that everybody should have it. You know, if this property you can't do X, Y, and Z, or if this gets cut short earlier, it's that the landlord is responsible for everything spent on the upfront cost. Yeah. Rightfully so. And I sent them that and they just ignored it. And I was really trying to work with them. That's crazy. Yeah, it was. I was trying to work with them and saying, you know, fine, pay me this much every month because you're getting this off the rent until I'm paid out. I wanted the bare minimum back. Literally, I totted up everything. I was like, just give me this back and then I can walk away. Because at this point, I'm in over my head now because I'm early into the game. I've not got that extra cash flow behind me. And support around you as well. Exactly, yeah. So anyway, we did that. We agreed they were going to pay. The landlord ended up taking over the investor's debt. I mean, the letting agent took over the landlord's debt. Yeah. 2 months he started to pay, and then it got really late, and then he just stopped replying to me and things like that. So it was a whole chaotic thing, and I don't even know the situation now. I never hear from them. So yeah. So that was fun. Are you still pursuing them through the courts, or have you just left it now? So you know what? I'm just going to go make more money. Scrap that. I'll take it as a lesson. And it went through the courts, and they didn't turn up to the first one, and it was just chasing. And I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, I can't be bothered. Takes too much energy. I wanted to do it more for the money and just more for the principle. Yeah. But then I realised your time, if you get caught up in all these little things, your time is just, it sucks the fun out of it, which literally. I think, so and the energy could be spent well elsewhere, generating new deals and new money that will make that money look like it's, you know, nothing essentially. Yeah. Well, it was a hard lesson to learn, but obviously you've learned from it now. Yes. How did your next deal go after that? So after that, I'm just trying to put the timeline together now. That's all right. So yeah, I went kind of more back on the sourcing side of things. Generate more cash. Yeah, I kind of lost my passion for the rent-to-rent side of it. Because my goal was always development anyway. It was always the BRR side of things. So I went back to that, and then I moved I moved back home when I started my trading, and then I moved back to Newcastle again when I was, kind of back on my feet.
Yeah.
And then I started to sell the BRR deals.
Okay.
So obviously living in Newcastle, studying up there, I knew the market, I knew the areas, a lot more potential, good prices. So I kind of I had a few little bad instances on the rent-to-rent side of things just from my personal experience. So I changed my focus back.
Okay.
And I think that's always something that I try to say to people, if obviously you're kind of told to go down a specific route when you're sort of starting out, but not every route's for everybody. And at the end of the day, if you've got to work this hard to be successful, you may as well do something that you enjoy.
Yeah, and it's not sort of one thing fits all, is it? Like everyone has their own passionate sort of elements to it, and there's so many different routes that you can take in property and strategies that explore them. Obviously, you explored a couple. Obviously, the one that didn't work out for you, but again, you learnt from that. And now when you go into your BRRRs, the lesson that you've taken from there, obviously you learnt to look at the contracts fully as well. And you like the renovation side of things, and you know what you're doing with that. So then you can just implement that into the BRRRs.
Yeah.
So you're solely focusing on BRRRs now?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Anything where we can go in, renovate, add value, refinance. Flips, yes, they work as well as source for clients, but personally for myself, I want to just try and keep things in, just retain them, refinance.
Building a portfolio.
Exactly, pull out what we can, and that's the same sort of strategy that I do for most of my clients. Now, some people like flips, fine, we can do that. Similar sort of rules apply. But the BRRR route is definitely what I love. Yeah.
And how have you been finding it?
Good, really good. It's obviously, so how long has it been now? 2 years down that route. So I've learned a lot along the way. I've learned massive amounts along the way, and now everything's kind of solidified together, and everything runs nice and smoothly.
And you built a team now?
Yeah, I've got a fantastic team around me. Yeah, really, really good. Which helps massively. So it's about everyone kind of knowing where the roles are, where the responsibilities are, and then we just rinse and repeat. And now that we know, my builder, the team that I work with, fantastic. The brokers, the surveyors, the architect, the valuers, because you're in your patch.
A relationship now.
Exactly, because you're in your patch, you know who to call when and what to do. And it took a little bit of time finding, the right person we're going to work with, the right broker, the right solicitor that can, the last one of my portfolios, we complete in 14 days. Oh, brilliant.
And solicitors are slow, mostly across the board, to be honest with you. They drag their heels, take 2-3 months. It's unnecessary. We can get this deal done, get the ball rolling, move on to the next one.
Exactly. So that was good. That was
brilliant.
That was a good
I bet you was happy with that.
I was so happy. It was just before Christmas, and I was like, this is
fabulous.
Brilliant.
Nice little Christmas present for you.
Yeah.
Do you predominantly stick to Newcastle as your patch then, or do you sort of have a larger area?
A larger area across the northeast mainly. Okay. So there's different. The thing about the northeast is, everybody kind of wants to come up north because cheap properties and things like that. But you've got to know kind of what area. Newcastle's fantastic. You've got sort of Sunderland, Darlington. You've got all the kind of main larger areas. Then you've got the smaller towns. Now, it's not to say they won't work as an investment. Right. But, you can be buying a house for maybe sort of 50 grand. Fine. But you're not going to then convert that into a big HMO or anything like that. You've got to understand what works. So you could do a small BRRR, you could do a private rented. It's just about knowing what strategy for what specific area. Yeah. And
what are the different strategies that you do within your investment portfolio?
So majority is HMO conversions. Okay. That's a really large chunk of what I do is HMO conversions. And how big are the HMOs? So 4, 5, got 6 up beds? To 8 beds. 8 bed, okay. 8 bed en suites. I've got a couple 6 beds. Yeah, 8 beds, couple 8 beds, couple 6 beds, and then we do some smaller ones as well, sort of like the 4 beds, so the mini-mos basically. Which are nice, they're easy, and it depends on, for myself, it's the 6 bed and above. Yep. That's my strategy.
Is that for the return in the rental yield? Is that why?
Both. Yeah. So the value and the rental. Because we like to go on the commercial element as well, in able to kind of maximise it. So that's sort of the strategy. It's the HMOs. I've got a couple of flat conversions of my own. Okay.
Sorry, is that when you buy the building and convert into 1 or 2 or 3 units? I beg your pardon.
Do you know what? It was actually really good, this deal. So it was a repossession. It was the one I did before Christmas. It was a repossession. It was actually bought back in 2010 for 160.
Okay.
Landlord owned it, rented it out. Unfortunately, the tenants stopped paying rent. It got repossessed.
That's a shame.
Yeah,
They do say
it
in
was
the
a real
small print
shame.
of your mortgages, don't rely on the rent to pay for your mortgage, don't they?
Literally,
but, unfortunately,
yeah.
some people are relying on it.
No, it was a real shame. Do you know what it was? They were nightmare tenants.
Okay.
So when we took it over, the neighbours had all been up on the street like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're taking it on. You're doing a really good job."
Yeah.
But the previous tenants said, essentially, there was one of the partners had selling tyres. So if you can
in the house.
Yeah. So if you can imagine, it's like a double drive,
Yeah.
2 flats. And then from the front of the drive all the way to the back of the back garden, there was 15,000 tyres, 8 foot high.
That's mental.
Rat infested, everything. So environmental health. So that was a big caravan, but that was completely battered. There was about
no value in that caravan.
No value in the caravan. No, I put it on my story.
Did you get some money for the tyres?
No, they were gone. Luckily, because I did
thankfully.
not buy the rat infested. No,
Yeah,
environmental health have taken them before we purchased it, so it went with the banks.
Right.
Hence why we had a 14-day completion on it.
Okay.
So I was in a bit of a bidding war for it, but I got it for 110.
Okay.
We're spending 50 grand on the refurb. That's full inside out, really nice, good spec.
Okay.
The property.
So you're back at 160, which is what the old owner paid in 2010.
Exactly. So we're back at that, and then worst case, it's going to be worth 216. So everything comes back out.
That's
on a
brilliant.
refinance.
That's brilliant.
Realistically, I'm thinking more like the 230 plus mark.
Okay.
But I always like to do my bottom line.
Yeah.
So that's a really fun project. But I think we're about 4 weeks off completion. And we only started in January.
Is that the one that you've been posting a lot about, like the bathrooms, the tiling?
Yeah, the
grass?
tiling.
Yeah. I've seen
exactly.
that project. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, what your projects? How long do you tend to sort of run them for? In the sense of, from purchase to doing a renovation work, so then refinancing. What is your goal of getting that whole project done?
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah. So our build time as a standard is about 16 to 19 weeks, or 4 to 5 months. And what we do, this is with client projects as well, because if you're leveraging off finance on the front end as well, if you're leveraging off bridging, everyone gets a pre-val. Right. So before we actually buy the property, the valuers come out, obviously they assess it and they say, providing you do this, this and this, I can see the property being worth X amount. Yeah. Which means that on the front end, myself and my client, you know roughly where you are. Granted, it's going to be more conservative.
Of course.
But we can say, okay, cool, that's fine, that works. So then once we actually start the build, we already know, it's almost like a bridge to let. We already kind of know who's going to be doing the refinance and things like that. We always use the same brokers, so then they're familiar with the client as well. So essentially how that would work is, let's say a 16-week build time, we'll then start to trigger the refinance about 4 to 6 weeks before the build's done.
Right, okay.
Which means that then the client can be out in 6 months. They're not going over.
Makes sense.
Or ourselves can be out in 6 months. And it's just about risk managing everything really, and just making sure that things do fall on time to make sure that we can get out when we need to. But we do always take a 12-month bridge, just because you hear the horror stories, don't you?
Of course, you don't want to end up paying double the interest after the 6-month period and stuff. We've got projects going on at the moment. We've done a 12-month bridge, and we completed on that in October. The builders are in there currently. I've just started posting about it, to be fair. We're in week 3 on it, which I'll be going at the end of today after we do all the podcasts. I'll be going down there to check on them, and they're working through that so rapidly. But that is not just resi, it's mixed use. So it used to be all commercial, office space, but it's on a small parade of about 8 shops. So what we're doing is we're converting the uppers into a 2-bed, and the downstairs we're split into 2 units. So we've already got a tenant finding enough for the front end of the commercial unit, which is great. That's at legals already. So by the time the build finished, that will be finished, and then we've got a rear part left that we're going to try and go in after to get that converted into a studio, because it's got its own side access already, because we're like the end of the terrace, if you like. But yeah, with the bridges, bridge rates are quite different. And for people that don't know, bridge loan is basically where you don't go to like a normal bank, high street bank as such. You get loan on the building itself. They have the first charge on the building, you have to pay the interest, and then you have to sort of exit at the end. So it's like interest only pretty much, really. So so with the bridges, obviously I know that the bridge companies that I know don't tend to lend below sort of like 150k. Do you find that being that the property values up north are a lot cheaper than down in the south, how do you sort of bypass that, or are the bridging companies that you have happy with that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so on the purchases, we're okay, to be
Brilliant.
fair. They're quite happy to because they can see the value in what we're doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, let's say more often than not where you are going to bridge and you're doing the sort of large conversions, sometimes, we've done some where you're paying 80 grand for a property. But, you know, let's say we're paying over 100 anyway, they're happy.
Yeah.
But obviously with the development finance, now if you're doing sort of 60 grand refurb, no one really wants to touch it.
Yeah.
You know, it can be harder to get. You've got to have very specialist lenders. So that kind of came in, which is a real benefit of what we've done through my collaboration with Savoy's.
Yeah, we were briefly discussing that, weren't we? Earlier?
Yeah, exactly. So we've essentially, you know, backed off, obviously, you know, the big banks, Glenhawk, Shawbrook. They've essentially, through, obviously, the relationship with Savoy's and the backing of those guys, and then, obviously, what I'm doing in the north and the vetting of my company and how I'm doing my builds and things like that. You know, they've had a really, really interesting product agreed, which which is really cool, really exciting. There's definitely more details to come about that and exactly how it looks. But it's essentially going to enable people to get into property and to get these HMO conversions for maybe sort of 70k.
Brilliant.
So if you can be 70k in, you can buy a house, you can refinance on the back end of it about 325. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, you're in the money.
You're in the money, literally, yeah.
That's an awesome little collaboration that you've done. And again, it goes to show like the energy and effort that you put into something. And obviously you've been networking as well, going down to events, meeting different people. Social media, you know, your social media is growing, you know, phenomenally as well. And Savoy is a company that you've collaborated with, who have obviously taken notice to what you're doing as well. So it's just sort of testament to the success that you're having. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
We will post everything in the description about Adriana and what she's doing. I mean, people always ask me about investing in the north, and I'm like, guys, I don't have a clue. I don't go up there. I don't know about the properties.
There's nothing past London.
Yeah, literally. Like I'm a London boy through and through.
Yeah.
So like, if you have asked me in the past about investing up the north, up north, should I say? Then Adriana's your lady. Drop me a DM and remind me again, or drop her a direct DM because she does do. You do it for other people as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to just touch on that briefly?
Yeah, of course. So essentially, how the business model works is I offer the sort of full end-to-end service. Yeah. A lot of my clients aren't living in the north, and it's the biggest thing is when you are going and you're doing a conversion project, which is HMOs such as I specialise in. You need to make sure that you've got the right people around you. So I don't just kind of source and sell it and leave it on. I source, obviously then take it through to completion, give in my power team, solicitors, brokers and things like that. I then actually project manage the refurb. So using my build team who have, you know, been vetted by the banks, they like the standard that they do them to. Project manage the renovation, and then I actually as well now handle the lettings.
Brilliant.
So it's a full, and the staging, so it's a full end-to-end service.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah, no, it's really, really good. Collaborated with a company, they specialise in HMO management.
Awesome.
So we're going into business together now because obviously I've got so many HMOs and tenants that we're going to need to do. And it was just kind of, you know, if you can collaborate with all the right people and bring them in.
Definitely.
So essentially what a client gets is when they come to work with myself is the full picture, but they know who they're dealing with from day one.
All the way through to the end.
All the way through to the end.
It doesn't end really because it's still it's a cycle, isn't it, going around.
Exactly. And the beauty is, you know, I've really kind of over the last few years, I've realised, have you not got the right team around you? I could have an amazing product. I could have a product that could be a 6-bed HMO, you know, refinance it commercially, pull your capital out. But if I've not got a broker or a lender on board that understands the type of mortgage that I need on the back end to be able to qualify for that, or if I've not got a builder who understands how to build in that time frame, then it's irrelevant.
Sure.
Exactly. And if you've not got someone who understands how to manage a HMO, you're in trouble. So I really sort of niched and perfected kind of having the exact right people around me to be able to boost myself up, boost them up, and also then boost the client's investment as well.
Sounds like the full package deal.
So the full package,
awesome.
Yes.
Let's talk pricing. What's like somebody's entry investment figure that they'll be looking to spend on, I don't know, let's say a 6-bed HMO, you know, purchase, build costs?
Yeah, so the kind of average
Roughly.
figures, if we were looking on a cash basis, you're buying on average about 120, 130.
Okay.
That can go down, that can go
Yeah.
up, just depending on the area, and we always factor that in. So 120, 130. Your renovation is about 80k.
Okay.
That's a full back to brick. So we do back to brick, we do all en suites in the project. Really nice finish everywhere. And so it's about 80k there. And then your end value is sort of upwards of the sort of 300k mark.
Okay.
So yeah.
So 200 in, 300 out.
Yeah,
pretty much.
a lot of money to be made.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, at the back end of that, if you're going down the rental route, your kind of minimum expected cash flow about £1,000 a month on a 6-bed.
Okay.
Whereas we've got some that are expecting about net of 22k a year. So what's that, about £1,800 a month?
All right, brilliant.
Yeah, and that's management. So there's a lot of money to be made. It's just knowing where to do it and having the right thing. So, but in terms of actual entry cost needed, if you wanted to sort of leverage with the Savoy's product that we've got, you can be into one of them projects for about 70k.
Okay.
And then let's say if you were kind of just wanting to bridge the purchase, for example, over 100, but not considerably over.
So it's like roughly 30 to 50% roughly?
Exactly, yeah, okay. Exactly. So yeah. No,
that gives you a good idea, guys, of investing up north. 30 to 50% of the product, or if you wanted to do cash and you have roughly about 200 grand, you're sort of in, but 100 grand, probably
100 grand, we can make it work,
yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Never know, might have to be a guinea pig. And
yeah,
then I can pass it on to more clients.
Literally.
Awesome. So what's your, obviously you've built your dream team now, you've got a fabulous product, you're growing, your social media is growing. What is the next stage for you in your property journey? Or what is your end goal? Like, what are you looking to achieve?
The end goal, it's kind of
a difficult one.
It's a really difficult question. I think I get asked this all the time, I really should take some time to think about it. But I think because you're always so like busy and on the go, I'm quite focused on like what's now or what's the end of the year goal. So really I just want to keep building up my portfolio and obviously client portfolios as well. Just keep growing that, building the wealth, having that kind of backing behind me to keep growing. But yeah, I think that's it. I mean, the next project that I have got completing is one of mine. That's a mixed use as well.
Awesome.
Which is going to be fun. Yeah, so we won
your first mixed use?
My first mixed use, yeah. So
same for us. First mixed use, yeah. So ours is made predominantly residential, and it was the first mixed use that we won that we've got into, and I'm quite enjoying it, to be fair.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying it.
I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be
definitely.
fun. So we can still do. So initially, what I wanted to do, it's a shop and it's a house.
Right.
We're going to make it into a 6-bed HMO, which we can easily fit in the house nicely, no problem. And the shop, I did want to convert to a flat.
Okay.
Just because it's going to give you about another 20, 30k.
Right.
However, being the area that it's in, and I know the HMO is already going to do really well, I'm not going to get the planning.
Okay.
And I don't want to annoy the neighbours and go in
and
make a scene, because we've got another one a couple of doors down that we're doing. And it's one of those areas anyway that you've got the metro right to Newcastle, so you are really good location wise, but so you want to keep people happy, because I want to keep growing there. So we are just going to keep it as a shop and then a HMO. But
maybe your base?
Well, potentially that is coming. Yeah, that is coming, which would be good. I mean, like your base, that would be a nice one.
Yeah, so we obviously started sort of the other way. I had a couple of buy-to-lets before the business was running, like only 2. And then we obviously launched a business in 2016. And this is basically like just residential and commercial lettings and sales. And obviously as we've sort of grown, we've been purchasing some individually, some jointly, and JVing with people. But yeah, so this is our core head office, if you like. I mean, you've seen it's quite a big unit. Yeah. We've got another one in Welling, which is more towards Kent, but you won't be familiar with the areas because you're not from the area. No, that's it. So, but no, it's definitely good to have a base, where the team can be together, and it helps us with the management side of things. I mean, we manage 360 roughly properties at the moment. Yeah, so individual units. So managing our own stuff is quite easy. The team is already here, and it helps with that and having the contractors around us. So it's about building a core team essentially, which is what you've done, and your growth has been phenomenal. So no, it's awesome. We'll plug all your information below. Look, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure to have you. You're very knowledgeable at young age as well, which is fabulous to see. Look, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the episode, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. We'll leave Adriana's information in the description below. so you can reach out about the property investing in north of England. If you are too shy but you know me personally, then just drop me a DM and I can make the intro for you as well. That's not a problem at all. And if there's somebody specific that you'd like to see, let us know in the comments. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.